cannot wait to get started. And just before we get going, a small bit of housekeeping. I'm sure you've all, this is your second workshop. Just to go over the ground rules, please mute your microphones until asked to unmute, and use the Zoom chat to ask questions or make comments. If you do drop off the call, please rejoin using the same link. Okay. So I'm sure you know who I am from the last workshop. My name is Zainab Daria, and I'm the founder of Reviving Links and also 2024 Ideas into Action Alumni. Okay, so today we're going to be working on impact. We're going to be looking at the following. What is impact? What is your, What is your impact? How do you measure impact? We're going to be working in your social business plan again so please open that up. You should already have the link to that. If you're not sure where that is, then click the link that Lucas is going to post in the chat, please. Okay. So what are we doing today? Here's the agenda. First of all, we're going to understand what an impact is and what do we mean by this. We are then going to go into breakout rooms and work out what's our impact or what your impact is, where we will be writing an impact statement for your organization. We will then come back together and understand how we actually measure impact, to measure and to report on impact. We will then have a 5-minute break before coming back together to start writing in your business plan to show how you're going to be reporting your impact. Lucas is then going to host an open question and answer session with myself and Fuad. Unfortunately, Aruba is ill tonight and cannot be with us, as Lucas has already mentioned. Before Lucas is going to close the session, then Lucas is going to close the session and tell us what's coming up next. Okay, so what actually is impact? Well, you're all here in this room to make some kind of a positive change in the world. You join this program as you want to change society in a positive way. So your impact is the positive difference or the impact your organization is having on the communities and the people that you're working with, and or the environment if you're working in that area. Impact is the long-term, sustained and positive change that you want to make on the world through your organization. Put simply, what is the difference that you want to make as an organization on the world and on society? We have been spending time thinking about your organizational vision, mission, and values, and these should have given you a really good indication to what is the impact you want to have on society around you. Impact in the dictionary definition is the effect or influence that you and your organization will have in the future. It is your impact which will motivate you, your team, funders, and partners. Your vision, mission, and values will help to guide you and your organization, but your impact is what shows what you are doing. So why do you even need to show your impact? Well, you need to show the impact you are having to the world around that is how you can show the difference that you are having. You need to collect certain data points to show your impact, and we'll talk about this later. Your impact can help you to plan and strategize for the future. You will need to make assumptions of the impact you will have. It is often a requirement of funding, both when you are writing grants or grant applications and when you are applying and making assumptions. But also at the end of the funding period, you need to show your real impact, the real impact that you are having. Funders want to know what impact they are funding and what difference they are making. Finally, it holds your organization to account. We're going to look at how we collect data a bit later on, but I want you to start thinking about now how you're going to have to show your impact. We're going to look at this in detail slightly later on, but I want you all to start thinking about some fundamentals that you need to know when thinking about showing your impact. You're going to need to define some key data metrics of which you will measure your impact by. You will need to collect these key data points both before, during, and after a project or intervention by your organization. And you will need to make some assumptions, then correct them based on real data. We're going to make some assumptions today, later in the workshop. For now, just keep this in mind when thinking about impact and what we collect when we show it. Generally, there are going to be 4 main groups of people who are going to want to see and analyze your data. First of all, funders. As I said, funders want to know how their money is being spent and what exactly it is being spent on. What is their money being used for? They'll want to know this often in a grant application before the project has even begun, and also after it has finished. You have to collect the data of your project and be able to show them what you are doing. Your funders are going to want to see the impact that their money is having also. Secondly, partners and stakeholders in your organization. This could be trustees of your charity, directors of your CIC, or potential partners will want to see exactly what work you're doing and how you're having an impact. Your team and organization need to know this. They need to know how many people they are or have been working with and the impact that they are having. It can galvanize a volunteer team to see the actual physical impact they are having in their project. And finally, your beneficiaries, the people who your organization is impacting the most. They might want to see how engaging with your service is impacting them and others around them. Or they may want to give you feedback and see how you're implementing this feedback into the organization and your work. This impact data collection might sound boring. It might not be that fun at times, but it's really important. It's really an important part of the puzzle in playing the social impact game in the UK. This is what can stand you apart in a grant application. It is what can make you get a lot of traction and publicity, and crucially, it's often a requirement which you need to report on. Data can be fun. It doesn't always seem that way, but it can be when you are analyzing it as a way that you are trying to make a difference in the world. This data can get people to support you. Now, it's worth noting that although this is a numbers game, this doesn't mean you take away the human aspect of working with people, of running a community organization or non-profit. These are simple requirements when working in the social enterprise or non-profit sector that you will need to measure your impact, to record your impact as a numerical data to be able to show funders, partners, or your own team and organization and beneficiaries to continue the great work that you are planning to do or doing. Okay, now generally there are 3 types of impact. Of course, there are many other ones to which you can find, but the 3 main ones that have seen that we have seen in ideas into action and across the nonprofit sector are impacts on the environment or the planet. This is where your organization is committed to making the planet and environment cleaner and better for yourself and future generations. Impact on people. This is where your organization is committed to making the lives of people that it serves better and improving their lives and livelihood. Impact on systems change. This is where your organization is working towards changing systemic systems that exist and create a structural inequality. Your organization could be having impact on a mix of these as well. It does not have to exist within one area, and there can be many other areas, but it's good to define an area where you will have significant change. We are highlighting the 3 most common areas of impact that we see. Okay, so let's have an example. Here, this example, here is Green Future Waste Management. Karal Nasser is the founder of the organization, and he's also a 2024 Ideas into Action alumni. Now, his organization collects electronic waste that would otherwise be thrown out and upcycles it or fixes it to be sold again. They're committed to protecting the planet's spares and rare natural resources by recycling electronic goods. His impact statement is, at Green Future Waste Management, we're committed to building a sustainable future by reducing e-waste through responsible recycling, repurposing, and public education. Our free e-waste collection services for businesses and individuals prevent harmful materials from polluting the environment. Unfortunately, Aruba is not with us as she's not very well. So I'm going to ask Lucas to tell us about Aruba's organization and how it works to better the lives of people. Lucas, over to you, please.
Yeah, so Aruba is the founder. Sadly, she's not well, as we said, but she's the founder of Aspiring Dreams, which is an organization that is working with young refugees and asylum seekers, and is helping them to access higher education and employment opportunities. So her impact statement is Aspiring Dreams CIC aims to empower the population to build a future for themselves to have a secure tomorrow. So she's very focused on people. And her impact is really around making a difference in individuals' lives, and helping to improve the lives and experiences of refugees and asylum seekers in the UK. Mia, I'm going to come back to your question in the chat now.
Thank you, Lucas. And we also have in the room tonight Fuad Al-Khadi, who can tell us about his organization and how he works to change the systems and to improve livelihoods. Fuad, over to you, please.
Thank you. So as you met me last time, my name is Fuad. I am the founder of Shift Up. So basically, we deliver training and consultation for organization about understanding lived experience and youth participation and how to shape policies around that to make sure that they have the actual power to change. Our impact statement is to train and empower organization to support young people to reclaim power through training staff, leadership training for young people, and creating systemic change, which means the future we will have more opportunities for us not to be existed, where the actual young people have the power to change by delivering training. So the end impact is to deliver this training. The future impact is to give this organization a systemic change where they always can put young people, especially young refugees and asylum seekers, in decision-making seats. Thank you, Zainab.
Thank you so much, Fuad. Okay, now it's your turn. We're going to break out and we're going to be writing in the executive summary and in the impact statements areas. Make sure it's short and sharp and very clear about the impact that you want to have as an organization. Lucas, breakout rooms, please.
Do you want to show yours? I think so. I just added a slide in earlier. Do you want to show your
Yeah,
example on
sure.
the next slide?
Okay. Okay, so at Reviving Links, our vision or our mission was to create empower communities, to build connections, and our impact statement is Reviving Links CIC empowers communities through cultural engagement, building community connections, training programs, fostering resilience, inclusion, and opportunity for individuals to thrive and achieve long-term well-being and economic independence. When we were writing our impact statement, I'm going to be honest with you, it was really difficult because we had 3 different streams or arms to our organization, and bringing all of them together in one statement was very difficult, especially as the arms didn't necessarily relate or connect. But as you can see, I think it flows really well. So the 3 services, just to give you an idea, was to build heritage reconnection for second generations from migrant backgrounds, and to provide care services for SEN children or elderly people who required language and cultural sensitive care in their own settings, whether that's home or in the community, and then training services for organizations or youth. I might go back. Are we going to go out into breakout now?
We can go a couple of slides forward.
Oh, we're not there yet, are we?
You can skip the next one.
Excuse me. Okay. Yeah, so apologies. Now just a reminder of we're going to have 3 facilitators tonight due to Aruba being unwell. PJ Saholo, Fuad, and Lucas, and you'll be working in the same groups that you did during the last session. So, okay, so let's break out for 30 minutes and start working on your impact statements. In the last 5 minutes, take 1 minute each to report back on your impact area and your impact statement. Fabulous.
Just before we break out, there was a really good question in the chat from Mir, and I think hopefully have answered it. But I think it's a good point. I think for the point of today's session, when we refer to impacts, it's in a positive way. So we're looking at what positive impact are you having on the planet. So it's a really good question that you raise around that, because there are, of course, negative impacts as well. But we are looking specifically today around the positive impact that you're having. And I think I said as well, like in response to the question, a big part of this program is trying to help you to show the world what that positive impact is, because that's quite often what will be the difference between getting a grant or not getting a grant, or getting a partnership or not getting a partnership. And I'm sure Fuad and Zainab will both tell us later, but being able to articulate what the positive change on society, on people, on the planet is that you're having is going to put you in a much stronger position in terms of actually reaching your organizational and business goals. So I hope that clears things up. I am now going to break us out. If you want to continue that conversation, I know Bija Saholo and Fuad and myself are happy to continue it. But we're going to be working now in section the executive summary of the business plan. All right, I'm going to open up now. Hey guys, all right, you're good to start.
Hey, so welcome back, everyone. I think we're all back. I hope you've enjoyed writing down what your impact is going to be with an impact statement. It's now time to think about how you communicate this in terms of forecasting or looking forward about the actual impact you're going to have on either a project or your entire organization as a whole. So to be able to actually show your impact now, or even before any project, you're going to need to forecast some assumptions. A lot of the time you need to do this for a grant or a proposal or a partnership. What we mean by this is you are going to have to come up with what your impact is going to be. You're going to have to forecast what the impact you're going to make is going to be. Now, it may not be accurate, but you have to have a go to show your impact even before a project has started. You then need to come up with ways so you can gather actual data from the project. You need to gather this data to show the impact you're having. You will need to showcase this impact to your stakeholders. You then need to analyze your assumptions against the actual impact you have had. You may need to show the differences to your funders, but having a difference is okay because it allows you to sorry, it's jumped ahead. It allows you to use this forecast or the new forecast you want to have and in a more accurate way. Forecasting the impact and collecting actual data to show how your impact is important is part of the social startup process. Every time you apply for finance or talk to a partner, you're going to have to express the impact that you are making. We have come up with some ways where you can start writing this down. Do not worry if it changes in the future or your impact is actually different in your project. It's about using these numbers to accurately think about the impact you can have and show the actual impact you're having. So how do we actually forecast and collect this data? We've split it into 3 ways. Firstly, what outcomes do you want to have as an organization? What outputs are you doing to achieve this outcome? And how are you measuring this data to show your outcomes plus your outputs? Now we're putting it in this way because many grant givers or partners will ask for this. We know this from experience. They may ask for it in slightly different ways or terms, but a good way to think about this is that these 3 words effectively mean: what change do you want to make? How will you do it? How will you measure it? We are starting this in the business plan, so you always have this to help you later on. Outcomes imply the change that you are making, or outcomes is simply the change that you are making. Outcomes are the positive changes resulting from your work. What is the actual difference you want to make? These outcomes will be closely linked to your organizational goals. This is because this is the difference that you are trying to make as an organization. And these outcomes are what really speak the difference. Some examples of outcomes may be positive changes in the environment if you are working as an organization to improve the environment. then your outcomes may be closely linked to positive environmental change. Perhaps you are working closely with people, so there is a positive change in behavior, skills or knowledge of the people that you are supporting. Or maybe you have seen some significant change in policy or the system that you are operating within. So linked to this would change, you would see the change that you want to make. Now, outputs are what you do to achieve your outcomes. They are the work you are doing. It is what you are doing or how you are doing your work. Outputs are your direct deliverables. What does that mean? It is the activity that you are doing as an organization. Are you planting trees? This is an output. Are you running workshops? This is an output. Are you delivering one-to-one coaching sessions? That's an output. Are you running organizational training? That is an output. Are you lobbying government with an advocacy campaign? This is, or that would be an output. Outputs are often expressed in numbers. So when you are forecasting outputs, it's about the amount of things you have done. How many workshops did you deliver? How many people visited your sessions? How many trees did you plant? How many campaigns did you run? Apologies. These are the building blocks to achieve your outcomes. Your outputs are what you do to achieve your outcomes, essentially. Now, it's very easy to say that you are going to create change and what you're going to do. But what is hard is being able to say how you're going to actually capture this data so that you really can show the impact you're going to be having. Measurement is how you're going to measure the impact that you are going to have. Measurement gives you clear indicators and parameters to analyze against your forecast, but also to see the impact you're having and if it is what you wanted to achieve. One of the biggest ways to collect data is to gather feedback from the people that you are working with. Is what you're doing having an impact on them? You need to use this measurement to analyze trends that you may find and then use this to create a future forecast of impact and assumptions. When you measure, you want to use before and after data to show the impact. The way to think about this is when someone or something interacts with your project, how are they? When they have finished with your project, have they changed? Did this reach my impact? And finally, the way you want to collect data is by using both qualitative and quantitative data sets. So let us look at the data you want to collect and what quantitative and qualitative actually means. Well, quantitative is numbers data. It is the one which shows the actual project numbers. So how many workshops did you deliver or how many trees did you plant? It is what shows how many people actually came to these workshops. What was the attendance of these? How many people interacted with your work? And another form of this is self-evaluation scales. These are amazing ways to capture how people feel about themselves in relation to a certain area where you want to have impact. So for example, how confident does someone feel before and after your project? You want to be collecting data before, during, and after any project. Then there is the qualitative data, which is kind of like the human data. This is where you can gather a lot of insight, trends, and quotes from people. You can do this through online forms, group sessions like a focus group, surveys for feedback, online communities, and seeing how they interact and doing in-depth one-to-one interviews. What's really important is that both quantitative and qualitative data sets or metrics are important to collect. You cannot just rely on one, you need both. So all of these data sets that you are collecting, what are you actually doing with it? Why are you even collecting it? Well, you're doing this to show your impact. Because we want to stress again, this is so important. You cannot just do, you need to show what you are doing too, and the difference that you are making. When you are collecting data, make sure that you collect it before, during, and after any project. You need data sets throughout the project, not just at the end, so you can show the difference. Make sure to publish your findings. People want to know what you have done, especially your funders, but doing this can increase your chances of other funding or partnerships as well. Compare your actual data from projects against your forecast and then use them. To make future assumptions on the impact that you will have, remember, it's okay if it's wrong, but it will help to guide you and make future assumptions much more accurate. Use real data to guide future projects and what you do. For example, if nobody turned up to a workshop, maybe think of a different intervention. You always want to be doing things that are useful for the impact area you are having a positive impact on. Okay, guys. We're now going to have a 5-minute break. And hopefully Lucas will put on some music for us.
I will. I just want to highlight something in the chat, which Esan is a great question around this. So Esan asked the question, how does quality play its role in impact? And I think it's really great, that question, because there's so many different ways you can collect data. Data can be completely pointless if it's not good. And so I've just put an example in the chat, right? And you design at the moment your parameters as to how you're going to capture and how you're going to measure change or measure impact. So I just put in the chat, like, I ran 10 workshops, or I could say I ran 10 workshops to 20 people, right? Sure, that's great. That's what I did. Okay, fantastic. I ran 10 workshops, maybe on self-confidence, to 20 people. But I could change that very slightly and listen to how much more powerful this impact could be by saying, I ran 10 workshops to a cohort of 20 young people where we had an average attendance of 85%. So then somebody looks at my data and they think, wow, okay, they were having 20 people and each workshop they had an average attendance of 85%. And then I can say 100% of participants increase their self-confidence. So then somebody looks at that data set and they think, wow, this person's making such a big difference to an individual's life over those 10 workshops. So although I'm saying exactly the same thing, or I'm doing, I'm doing the same thing. I'm still running, let's say the example is I'm running 10 workshops in self-confidence for young people. How somebody else perceives that data is entirely different depending on how you actually how you measure it and what change you want to make. And so that's why we're doing this now and this early. And I know it's coming super early, and some of you may be already doing stuff. Some people may be like, this is just an idea. But we're doing it because I see it across the board on grants that people are asking for what outcome, what change do you want to make? What are you doing? What outputs? And how are you measuring it? And I'm super excited to hear what Fuad and Zainab have to say about this. If you've got any comments now, share them. But we do have the Q&A later as well, where I might ask you a few things around that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. But I don't know if Fuad or Zainab, before we go on a break, if you've got anything to add to that at all.
I just wanna. I know it like most likely we are going to talk about it in details, but like most likely the impact will happen when you have a good quality of work. So which means like when you measure the quality, that will run up immediately to the impact on the people based on your quality of work, if that makes sense. I think you already mentioned that, Lucas, but like it's just like to confirm that it's like there is so many kind of data as you mentioned. Like there is so many ways, starting from surveys, interviews, focus groups. It depends on what kind of work you are doing already, and that's how it will work. I don't want like to make you wait more.
No, but that's it, right? And I think that if you're doing good work, capture it. Because what a missed opportunity if you don't capture it. You might be doing the best work in the world, but if you don't capture it, no one's going to know. Uh, yeah, you'll present, yeah, and that quality will come through. But also it's okay if things, it doesn't always have to be good impact. You can learn a lot from it, right? That's the thing as well. You don't have to tell everyone if something goes badly. If you get bad feedback on something, maybe don't tell anyone. Actually, everyone hated our workshop. Instead, think, why didn't those young people I was teaching self-confidence, why didn't they like that? And shift it in a positive way for you and your organization and change it and be like, okay, what went wrong there? Right? So use that feedback in a positive way. Maybe don't tell everyone about that and choose some other data points. The thing is you can showcase whatever data you like, but it's all positive. Even if you get negative data or feedback, right? You can shift that into a positive way for you and your organization to improve as well. But it's a very good question. But yeah, it doesn't have to just be quality. That's why we design these metrics as well, what we call metrics, and we'll get back to that. Anyway, I'm aware it's break time and I've already taken some time up. So 5 minutes, I've been listening to loads of reggae.
Okay. So now it's time to go back into the business plan, and we're going to start forecasting what impact you want to have. You can do this for either a project that you may have or for your organization. You can copy this table and have it multiple times. It does not need to be just one, but we want to start thinking ahead. What is it that you will be doing and the impact you will have? Firstly, you want to write your outcomes. What is the change you want to make? Then you want to write your outputs. What is it that you are going to do? Then you want to write your metrics, which means how are you going to measure this? And finally, if I go slow enough, finally, is it qualitative or quantitative? It's a good idea to have one of each if possible. Okay. After you've done this, we want to work in section 6.2 and think, what are your long-term goals? What is it that your organization wants to actually achieve in the next 12 months and in 5 years' time? Once you've set your impact forecast, doing this will help you to then think what you want to do in 1 year and in 5 years. Remember your vision, you're working towards that for this. Okay, so for us, just to give you an idea of what our impact statement was for our NEAT project, our outcome was to increase the engagement of young Somali people to engage with either education, employment, or training. And our second output was to improve connections with their cultural heritage or their identity heritage. Our output was to deliver workshops, which included around employment opportunities, education fairs, and also mentoring sessions. And our focus was for 2 boroughs, primarily Harrow and Brent. The second output was to organize cultural workshops and a final event where participants learn to perform poetry, or otherwise referred to in Somali as gabi, and other traditional practices. And how we measured this was to carry out surveys at enrollment, so before they joined the workshops. And the second measurement, for the second outcome or output, was by counting the number of youths who actively took part in the workshops. The outcome was actually really interesting, although it's not completely ended, but hopefully in our next time we meet, I will tell you about that. We chose both quantitative and qualitative measurements, so from the beginning, midway point, and then at the end. Okay, and just to give you an idea of what our long-term and short-term goals were for our NEAT project. So for our 1-year goal was to support 20 young people in our chosen boroughs through helping them to re-engage with the education system, as well as employment opportunities and training. And our impact was to improve participation and also enhance cultural connections, as already mentioned, amongst at least 20 young people. Our 5-year goal was to scale the program London-wide and support over 500 young people annually, as well as having an impact on lowering the number of NEET young people, as well as building a mentorship network, which includes different sectors or representatives from different sectors who also share the same heritage as our participants. We also envision that we will set up an annual Excellence Awards event where we would nominate not just people who participated in our programs, but countrywide, so throughout the UK, to enhance the connections and building heritage connections, as well as preserving cultural ties. It also include, well, our vision, 5-year vision, also included building partnerships in Somalia, where the young people who participated in these projects could potentially go on volunteering opportunities to actually have that real person contact with their roots. Okay, so we are now going to breakout room for 35 minutes, and we're going to be working in parts 3 and 4 of your social business plan. We're going to determine who your beneficiaries are, what's your minimum valuable product.
Sorry, that's my fault, Zainab.
Am I on the wrong thing?
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It was just the wrong notes. Section 6.
Oh, okay. So we will be working on section 6.
Hey guys, welcome back. Zainab, you can stop screen sharing. So we're doing a little Q&A now with Fuad and with Zainab. Can I double spotlight? Yes, there we go. So everyone can see you guys. And it's come at a good time because we have been having a few conversations as well around impact and things. And I'm sure everyone is feeling like, it's a little bit overwhelming, impact, and trying to understand it and stuff. And that's totally fine. That's okay. And so I guess my first question for you comes at a great time. Zainab, how do you actually balance like measuring impact and all of this stuff we've been talking about today, right? When you are doing so much already with your organization, you're running it day to day, you're making contacts, you're having conversations, and this came up in our breakout room. So, how do you actually do it? Why are you not just like, Lucas, do you know what? Impact, no, it's too much. Like, why is it like, how do you actually balance all of this?
You know what? I'm not going to lie to you. It is really difficult. What my guide usually is, because at the moment we're dependent on grants, and in order to get the grants, you have to show what your impact is going to be. And in order to spend that money and get that money, you have to say, this is what I'm going to do. And that's how the grant is given to us. So what I do, um, I, I don't have an actual office, but I have 4 different diaries, and in each one there's a printout of the grant application. You know, the section that has what we're going to deliver. So whenever I'm recruiting for participants, I'm always referring back to that. I'm going to need X number of people on this project. I'm going to need to collect feedback forms. If I need to run focus groups or workshops, it's there, because if that doesn't happen, or if that data is not collected, when the end of the project comes, there'll be nothing to report. And from experience, we're not going to get the next round of money or pot of money. But from the practical side of it, it's very, very stressful. And if you're chaotic like me, you could get lost. You know, it's not fun, although we do, you know, we were saying it's fun, but when you actually have to do it, it can be very, very stressful. But you just have to revert back to your mission and vision, and that helps a lot.
Thanks, Zainab. And I think I like how you sort of centered it on, you know, especially around the grants that you're getting and be able to show that. But I'm interested, Fuad, to hear your perspective because just so everyone's aware, like Fuad is not getting grants, but quite the opposite, is winning contracts and tenders. So actually has to talk to a lot of organizations about this as well. So Fuad, I'll ask you the same question, really. Like you're kind of, you know, trying to you're running shift up day to day, you're doing a lot, you're running trainings, you're a solo founder as well. How do you like actually prioritize impact and why do you actually prioritize it?
Thank you. It's like it's somehow relevant to the same answer like Zainab said. It's like because I know I cannot get a new contract until I know that like I have a good feedback because it's like word of mouth, communication. I need to show people how I'm working. So it's really important. For me, I have like it's embedded in the whole kind of design making. So, for example, if I want to deliver a workshop, I make sure that I include measurement as part of the design of the workshop. If I'm doing work with the organization, and make sure to have in mind from the very beginning how I'm going to do the to measure the impact and to see how that works. And actually, even it's a little bit like not a little bit like it's like sometimes it gets really stressful. It's like you can understand like I really get satisfied of the answer of how some work we're doing. So when I share on my website that 100% of our participants recommend my workshops for others, I feel very proud of that. And I put it as a part of the work 100%. So I feel like it's like a real number. That can change in the future because I work just like for, I think, 8 or 9 workshops up to now. And that might change. It's all right. But like, it's something you can satisfy to go. So to go like to practicality, I save time every 2 weeks to either review the workshop I'm doing, or to research for a new kind of, like if I have an exercise inside one of workshops that it's not good, I need to save time to actually develop that, because otherwise it will be like collecting data without actually working on them. So every 2 weeks, I have like a spot of time to change something and test it on the next workshop. So develop a bit by a bit. And the myth, I believe, like I understand it very late. Like the myth is that you are always good. It's not, it's like it's a myth. It's you are not, it's not existed. You have to develop. There is no top line of that. So I keep time and I embed, like to summarize, I keep time for myself to have actual time just for the quality of the work I'm delivering. And the other part is I embed impact in the whole process of my work, starting from the moment I design anything or even to reach out to people. I always include it in mind, even on how to reach out to people. So I said, like, because of our impact, we reach this, and that. So contract with me, like do contract with me. So I go like in this kind of mental. I think it should be always in your mind, if that makes sense.
I think that's really interesting to hear, and I think this is two very different perspectives. One, obviously, I mean, very similar perspectives, of course, but in terms of one Zainab applying for grants and Fuad, you're going for tenders. I think it is interesting to hear that you both are saying the change you're trying to make effectively, right, or impact, however you want to call it, is at the front of what you're telling people and how you're presenting yourself as an organization. Is that a fair assumption to make?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the only way to the only way to represent how you work. I always imagine myself as a person who would hire me and start to ask myself the question that how to show myself. Does that make sense? I imagine myself, I am the funder, or in my case, the one who do the contracts with me, what they want to see. If I want to hire somebody, what I want to see, and I apply it on my own work.
It's a very nice way of putting it, actually, Fuad. Thank you. Um, Zainab, my question to you now is, both you and Fuad actually were here 12 months ago doing a very similar workshop. We might have had it the other side of Christmas, but I can't remember now. What would have been helpful to hear 12 months ago? Because I think a lot's changed in 12 months. So what would have been helpful to hear about impact when you first started learning all of this and were working in the business plan? And I know you found it frustrating, as you said. And that's okay to say. That's all right to say, by the way. What would have been helpful?
I think for me, I imagined it to be a lot more complicated than it actually is. Um, you can get stuck in terms of, oh, can I do this? Can I do that? But I think it's really important to break it down into steps. So not necessarily as in your 5-year impact, your overall impact, but break it down into that first little project that you're going to do, or that one first workshop that you're going to do, and don't be afraid. Revert back to your mission or why you're doing everything that you're doing. And then if it was just to change one thing, if you're working with people, if you're working with the environment, if it was just to save, I don't know, one plastic bag from ending up in the ocean, or if it's just to work with one person, what is it that you want to take away? So I guess break it down into small steps, and do not be afraid of breaking it down into like small steps would have been really helpful for me. I think in terms of what would have really been helpful if I've heard it, it doesn't have to be done in one setting. It's something that, as I can't remember if it was yourself, Lucas, or Fuad, who said it, it's a growing phase. It's something that develops and evolves and changes with you. And so essentially, don't be afraid of it.
Thank you, Zainab. And yes, it is a growing thing that will change. What about you, Fuad? What do you wish you heard?
I would love somebody to tell me that. Write it down now, because when you are in a deadline to apply for something, you need them ready. Does that make sense? I I remember that all applicant, like whenever they ask you to apply for a tender, or like if you've been asked to like even if you want to reach out for a new organization to do the work with them. So especially for tenders, let's say, they ask about how you are going, what's the impact if you are proposing, and how you are going to measure it, and how do you know that works. So it's actually answering these questions we are working on today. And if I have them, because you can pick what you want from your answers, because you already make them all prepared and put them inside the proposal. You don't spend like half a day just to, oh, did it right? And especially you will be busy collecting other information and building another, let's say, concepts of how the proposal what is the proposal they want. So if I know before how it's as important as the service, because your service will not be accepted unless they know how you will measure it. So if I have it from the beginning, it will be very helpful to me that, okay, it's something I need to do, so I should have done it like long time before.
Yeah, super helpful. Just write it down, change it later, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And it doesn't have to be perfect now, right? It doesn't have to be perfect right now. So just my final question, and I'll open to the floor. If anyone's got questions, there will be a little bit of time to ask. But Fuad, we'll start with you this time. So how has showing your impact and making this effort, because it is a big effort and it is a lot and it's conceptual and it's difficult. How has that helped you though to secure partnerships, bids, funding, or scale the work that you're doing?
Okay. If it's all right, I'll mention my last experience because it's so linked to this question. So actually, I applied for a bid with the Refugee Council about how they can develop staff with lived experience inside for the career, like how they develop in their careers. And they were a part of the work where they ask, they request somebody to do training for managers about understanding lived experience and designing a toolkit. So they ask as part of the proposal how you are going, like what's your impact in the training, how you will measure it, and what's M&E needed for, like what the methods needed. So I actually will not get, that seems wrong in English. So I will never get the work unless I have to apply for I will not be able to get this bid until I write down what I have to the impact stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
so you
I will
actually had
lose
to.
the bid by, like, that's it.
So as part of the bid was explaining how you were going to be doing the monitoring and the impact and showing that, right?
Literally, yes.
Yeah, amazing. And how about yourself, Zainab? How's this helped you?
It's helped in the sense that by showcasing who we were having an impact on, um, it's opened up partnerships where somebody has approached us to deliver focus group workshops to groups or people impacted by cancer. Just by us highlighting the kind of groups we were reaching through our peer-to-peer support sessions, and how many people we were reaching. Somebody who we told that information to, recommended us to somebody else who then approached us to deliver, I think 2 workshops for about £2,000.
That's so you were getting work effectively just through showcasing your impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. Amazing. Thank you guys so much. Very interesting impact stories around how this has actually been quite useful. Does anyone have a question for Zainab or Fuad about impact? Feel free to just take yourself off mute, put it in the chat. Don't be shy.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does it make a difference if the impact is, like concise, or if we have like we break it down into like a few points? Does that make sense? If it's like a longer impact that we're, like expressing in a long statement versus a concise impact statement.
Good question. Fuad?
From my side, I will mention that because I think it might different in here, because like maybe for fun they will ask for an impact for the whole organization to know how they work. From from my side, they needed a specific kind of impact measurement. So for example, they like some of the questions saying that how you will make sure that the training for the managers will be impactful and there will be some changes in the behavior, which means I need to be specific in saying what I need to put inside the measurement. Is that like is that answering your question, Ruqayya?
In a way, yes. I was just thinking, if we're sharing this, to apply for grants, all of that, or does it depend on what we're seeking or the kind of stakeholders that we're sharing it with?
For me, I will mention just like quickly. I just put it for when it's needed. When I do a proposal, I share it just for the proposal part, unless I'm willing to sell the shift up as a whole. So I share my whole statement. Sorry, Zainab, I don't like to hold the space.
No, fair, that's fine. Don't worry. I was going to say, Rokia, for us, our impact statements change depending on what grants we're going after, and some will specify what they want to see. But in terms of if you're talking about your impact statement being short, I would say probably the shorter you can get it, the more impactful it is, because people's attention spans, especially grant officers or grant managers, they see that many applications, and if you've got half a page impact statement, it won't necessarily grab their attention.
I think that's a really good point, Zainab. And I think, yeah, short and concise is always better, in my opinion. But also, exactly what Fuad was saying, like you do change it depending on what you're doing. So Zainab has one impact statement, but I know we worked on a grant together and changed what the impact was that Zainab was delivering, and she got the grant. But ultimately, it was still linked to your organizational mission and vision and values, but the impact she's having was slightly different. So yes. I think you can change it as well, depending on which situation, but less is definitely more. Definitely more.
Thank you.
Ehsan, well, we've got one question from Ehsan before we'll have to wrap up because it's just gone 8 o'clock. But Ehsan, I'd love to keep this conversation going, but please, over to you.
Thank you, Zainab, and thank you, Ford. Actually, I had 2 questions here. The first one is, how open are we with our business plan in terms of applying for different funding and grants? The second question, what is the maximum and the minimum number of impact statement and also output and outcomes that we can write in our business plans? Thank you.
I'll take the second question first, if I may. There isn't. There's not. That's just a format that we recommend you take, and you can have as many as you like for one project or for two projects. You can use it for grants in the future. But if you remember this, you have the impact you want to make, what outcomes you want to achieve, what outputs you're going to be doing, and how you're going to be measuring it. That will set you up for success, whether you apply for grants, whether you're going for tenders, whether you're looking at partnerships, because 90% of the time it follows a very similar format, right? So it just allows you to get there. So there isn't a number that you can or can't do. And with a business plan, what I would say about how public you are with it, I'll pass that over to Zainab and Fuad. How publicly do you share your business plans?
Should I go Zainab again? Sorry, it's just like from my experience up to now, it's not very long. I'm just like I have the full version of anything I want to mention inside my business plan for me, and I choose what to share depends on what it's for. So if I'm doing some kind of publicity for myself and the organization for Shift Up, I will share what I need to share. If somebody asks for a specific kind of parts, I will choose those and choose what they want and what I think can be good for this work or for this kind of business and share it with them. That's what I usually do. I don't know about you, Zainab.
Pretty much the same for ads. It's really up to you and what you're sharing it for. But there's no, unless you're going for a grant, I've not come across that many, I guess larger grants, sorry, not grant, loan. But larger grants may ask for, especially if you've been around some time and you're asking for capital and things like that, they might want to see in terms of forecasts, what your cash flow forecast and things like that. But I think pretty much it depends on why you're sharing it. And so far, we've chosen to share parts that were relevant, but never the full business plan. I don't know if that answers your question, Hassan.
Yeah, thank you. That was really helpful. But I think I couldn't really express myself good with the first question. What I meant to actually ask was like you have your business plan. Is it like a one? Is it like a one prescription for accessing to for applying to many grants, or every time you have to change it according to the needs of that specific grants or funder? Or you have to stick to your own area of support and that you're going to provide to the target group. I don't know if I'm clear.
We've applied for few grants, and although they're not over £20,000, we've not had any that have specifically asked to see a business plan. The ones that we've applied for asked for budget plan, so breakdown of how you're going to spend the money and what you're going to spend it on. It might be an idea to maybe look at what's it called, business model canvas, which is a snapshot, and it's not the full sort of however many pages. But again, the information you share will depend on what you're sharing it for. And different scenarios might require different information. So you may have to tailor, the existing information to fit in with what's required for that purpose. What do you say, Fran?
I actually just want to share my part of the last bit I went. It was about my work is for young refugees and asylum seekers to be with lived experience, which means to have the power. However, the tender I won, it's about how to train managers to understand other stuff about lived experience for them. which means it's a part of my knowledge. However, my business plan, it's all designed for the young people. Even that I have that. I have the other part. I have those, but like my business platform for just for this one. So I took the main aspect of it, and as Zainab said, tailored that to fit what they want. So you don't change, like I don't want to invent stuff up to say that, oh yeah, we do training for like specific kind of like lived experience. I don't invent stuff up, but like if something I can make it fit their proposal, I can do that, but like without change, just tailoring, without changing like the heart of it.
Thanks, Fuad. Yeah, I've said it's. I think you take what you need, and it's like a guide at this stage, and ultimately you're not going to change too much from that. Oksana, very, very quickly, last question. I'm aware of the time. Thank you, guys, but I should have made this 30 minutes. I knew it.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, very quickly. Tomorrow, we had an email about another extra session about funding, applying for funding and grants.
Yes.
Is it you guys gonna be doing it?
Yeah, Zainab will be there tomorrow. You'll see Zainab, you'll see me, and you'll see someone called Valerie. That is happening tomorrow, correct? Yes. Thank you, Oksana, for raising that. Please do come, guys. Very helpful session. But please join me now in saying thank you to Fuad and to Zainab being on our panel. Thank you so much. But also thank you so much to Zainab for the last two sessions. These were the last. She's delivered the business plan. In the new year, we will have Fuad delivering the financial plan. So thank you, Zainab. We really enjoyed you teaching us all about business plans, and it was excellent. And we will welcome you back, hopefully, as a facilitator in the new year as well. But Fuad will be delivering financial planning, which is very exciting. So we have a few different facilitators. I'm just going to bring us home because our next workshop is actually Wednesday, the 15th of January. This is run by our good friends, our lawyer friends, called the Sistren Legal Collective. And they're an amazing sort of legal collective, and they will come to tell you how to register as a CIC, as a social enterprise. You may have heard that term a little bit. That's how Zainab's registered, or as a charity, if you are interested in that. It's a chance to meet non-profit lawyers and ask any questions that you have. But what I would love is if you could scan this QR code, please, and tell us a little bit of information ahead of this session, how you want to register. This is really important before the session because it will help us to sort of break up where you go in the breakout rooms. And if you don't know how you want to register, that's absolutely fine as well. This is a very good informative session, which is just useful. So I know Fuad's not registered yet, but he was at this session, and I'm sure 12 months on you found it useful, even though you haven't registered yet because you're a self-employed sole trader, which is also totally fine. So you know, you don't have to register. It's just an informative session, but please fill out this QR code because we need that. And then very happy holidays and happy new year. Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates that. But have a lovely happy new year to everybody. It's been well done for getting, you know, we only started 4 weeks ago, but the momentum's there. That's what we wanted to do. Thank you to Bija Saholo as well for all the hard work behind the scenes. We're having a little break because we need it. But also it's very quiet this time of year. You guys keep going, but also, you know, be kind to yourself and take a little bit of time off as well over the period, and especially with the bank holidays and the New Year period. We're going to be off from Wednesday the 18th, next Wednesday, until Monday the 6th of January. So it's about 2.5 weeks. Things are going to calm down. You're not going to hear from us at all. And then we're going to ramp right back up in January. We're going to bring some energy to the January blues. Yes, please do book a session with myself or with Bija Saholo as soon as possible, because if we don't do it now, we're not going to see you until January. So please do book these sessions. Yeah, we just wanted to let you know, we'll send you an email next week anyway, but crack on with the business plans, and also take a little bit of a break, and a very happy new year to you all. And finally, give us some feedback, please. please. Beaches Holo, if you could pop this link in the chat as well. I'd love everyone to be like, great session, but why are we 10 minutes late at finishing? We should have had an extra 10 minutes with Fuad and Zainab. But please do give us some feedback. We love to hear it. I hope you find the way that we teach with our awesome alumni coming back useful. I certainly do find it very inspiring to hear from you guys and hear your experiences, and I'm sure everyone else does too. But we would love to hear that. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing badly. This is our quality control metric to make sure we are always delivering quality. So it's okay if you tell us we're not doing something good. That's fine. Please do tell us. We want to know. That's it. Thank you so much, everybody. We will be in touch next week, but have a very happy new year. Stay safe. Take care, everyone. I might see you before, but if not, take it easy, and we'll see you in January in 2025. Crazy to think that already, but we're nearly there, guys. Take it easy, and yes, thank you so much for staying an extra 10 minutes tonight. Really appreciate you, and have a lovely evening. Thank you, Zainab. Thank you, Fuad. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.